Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Aqsa Shaikh. I'm Associate Professor of Community Medicine from Jamia Hamdard, Delhi. I'm a proud trans woman, and at the outset, I would like to thank National Law School for coming out with such an apt compendium on the effect of the COVID 19 pandemic on the issues of domestic safety and domestic abuse. I have been very privileged and humbled to be able to contribute a chapter, an essay, on the topic of Home Sweet Home, dealing with the issues of domestic abuse of members of the LGBTQIA plus community and especially the trans folks. There's a very nice quote by Maya Angelou which says, "The ache for home lives in all of us. A home is a place where we can go without being questioned as we are. Indeed, home is a place of love and acceptance for a lot of us. But it may not be true for many members of the lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, asexual, intersex, and many other identities under the queer umbrella. They often lack acceptance and love from their own homes, from their own natal families. They are often subject to abuse, which could be physical, mental, emotional, and even sexual abuse at the hands of their own family members. As a result, a lot of members of the community often run away from the homes at a very young age or live in privacy, in closet, at other places like hostels, friends' home, or PG facilities. 2020 was the year which changed all of that. The year which saw the greatest pandemic that the humanity has probably ever seen. Along with it came the national lockdown, which was announced at a very short notice. As a result, many of the people who were living independently had to move back to their own homes. Rather, I would say they had to be imprisoned in their own homes. In the places where they didn't find privacy or even safety. There was a lot of abuse which happened to the members of the LGBTQI community and especially with the trans folks. As a result, the mental health of these trans folks suffered. There are many undocumented stories of even suicide and self-harm. There are many stories which you'll never hear about forced marriages and even convergent therapies. And all of this took a lot of toll on the community. The financial strings were cut off, the financial independence was taken away, and people were moved back to their own homes. And this was especially very damning for the people who were transitioning at that point of time. The gender affirmation services, which are anyways inadequate and mostly present in the costly private facilities, were also closed down. The few services which are available at the government facilities were also curtailed because many of the hospitals were converted into the COVID dedicated hospitals. Transition is a process which is not just biological but also legal and social, and change in the documents of the person's name and gender is a very important step. And unfortunately, even that could not happen because during the lockdown, a lot of government offices and courts were also closed. One can only imagine the impact of this pandemic on the Hijra and the Kinnar community, which has its traditional professions of badhai, or what we call as begging, and even sex work. And a lot of it was halted in the wake of the lockdown. If you look at the response from the government, it has been definitely, I would say, abysmally inadequate. A little pension or a little remuneration which was given by the National Institute of Social Defense did not even reach probably 1% of the official trans community in India. Also, a few months before the lockdown, the rules for the Transgender Act were brought into the picture, and these rules are highly adequate when it comes to providing protection to the trans folks from abuse from their own natal families. In fact, it's a very patriarchal act and rule, which in fact restricts the people to their own natal families. and does not give equitable punishments for abuse, including sexual abuse. It's time that we all understand the gravity of the situation and demand that these trans rules and act are amended to provide adequate protection to the trans folks. There is a dire need to provide night shelters, hostel facilities, and safe places where the trans folks can live, survive, and thrive. The pandemic has really brought into picture how we have been treating and how we have been trying to help the most vulnerable sections of our society. As it says that, the real strength of a society, of a civilization, is how it treats the weakest members amongst themselves. And this pandemic has taught us how we have not done justice to one of the most weakest section of our society. This is what I've tried to portray in my essay, and I hope you'll read and find enough evidence for further advocacy. Thank you very much.